Well, my project was the geochemical analysis of shale from the Red Eagle Cyclothem. I analyzed shale collected from the hillside near Blue Valley High School. Our hillsides were right up here next to the practice field. The hillside was 30 meters from the base to the top, and we collected samples near the center of the hill, and then also vertically near the center of the hill. The red shale layer was 11 meters from the bottom, and then the gray shale started at 11.8 meters, and the top red shale layer started at 12.1 meters. The Red Eagle Cyclothem, from research, it stretches from the southern corner of Nebraska, all the way down into northern Oklahoma, and it kind of goes along Highway 75. And we would be right here on the blue star, and this is all the Red Eagle Cyclothem. So that's why we decided we would test to see if the hillside is part of it. It was previously studied in 1958 for a KU graduate student's research project. Hypothesis: I believe the shale layer near our school is part of the Red Eagle Cyclothem. We've already moved through that part. I chose to do a geochemical analysis to try and locate ions associated with this shale. Also, our analysis is an easier and cheaper, cost-effective way to do it for a smaller school, so it doesn't involve really expensive equipment. The collection of samples, this is the top red layer, that's the gray layer, kind of goes around like that, and then there's another red layer. So that's the three layers that we sampled. We took samples 5 meters horizontally across the stratigraphic layer, which just means 5 meters in that direction. And then we took every 1 meter vertically across the layer. Samples from all 3 layers, like I said before, and the iron content is what causes the different colors of shale. So a darker red shale, that means more iron. Sample preparation: samples were stored in dry, small envelopes until we could test them. We sorted them with a screen sieve, and we saved the dust or the finest, smallest grained material for testing, as the least amount of molecules and broke down that way as far as that goes too, so it's better for testing. Geochemical analysis: we modified for near separation and qualitative analysis of cations. The modifications we had to make was substitute from the available chemical list. We had to substitute some of the chemicals, so we used ones that we had. They provide a list that tells you what you can change in and out, and then we made a slurry with filtered shell and distilled water to begin our geochemical analysis, and that's just the initial step of running the tests. We added 2 milliliters of the slurry to the first test tube, and we washed it with HCl to acidify the slurry and liberate the ions. Now as for the data that we collected, the blue line is what we saw as statistically relevant, as it says, and this would be the bar graph, points to the percentage of the ion we had present. In the first layer we had iron, copper, manganese, and aluminum. These two at 50%, and this was 100% of the samples. Copper was about 30%. Data number 2, we didn't have any statistically significant ions. We had iron at 49%, and then everything else was lower. Aluminum, once again, was up there a little higher. So then in layer 3, we once again had 100% iron, or positive test for iron. So in all of our samples, and then aluminum and cobalt were in very small amounts. So statistics: we had a normal distribution with 1 standard deviation of 75%. Layer 1 had 4 ions, the ones I stated before, and iron was present in 100% of the samples. So we would say iron is positive test for iron in the first layer. All the others were only present in less than 50% of the samples. Therefore, they are not statistically relevant. Layer number 3 also had 100% iron present. This is what led to us to the conclusion that we do have iron present. Layer number 2 had iron, copper, cobalt, nickel, and aluminum. All irons are present in under 50% of samples, and that was even iron. But yet it was still the most frequent one at 49%, so that kind of backs up our other data. Our conclusion: iron showed up in all of the samples at 49% or greater, and all of them, so that's 100% in 1 and 3 and 49% layer 2. I believe this is a statistically significant figure, so it's safe to say that iron is present. Manganese and aluminum were found in about 50% of the samples, and we are going to call these trace elements, which they're there in trace amounts, as just a residual element, I guess you could say. Copper being present in 29% of samples is most likely due to experimental error from contamination of chemicals or lab equipment. Farther studies: if we were going to take this farther, we would do an anion test to test for different iron compounds. Color differences in our positive test led us to believe that maybe there's iron 2 and 3 compounds present, and that could be further tested through an anion test. Also, a flame test could be used to verify and test for other elements. In our case, we believe that calcium was present due to one of the tests that we had show up, or one of the test reactions that happened quite frequently. Due to heavily bubbling, that's what caused us to believe there was calcium, so we could test that with the flame test, and that's doable. And this is when we're excited. So that is my research project for science.